I don't usually hold up things with writing on them, so it just occurred to me that I might have to flip the video. Hi everybody, my name is Rosalie. Welcome back to my channel, back to Chubby. So I said in the video earlier this week that I wasn't going to weigh in today because I just knew it wasn't going to go well, and I knew if it didn't go well I'd be really discouraged, and sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do to keep yourself going. So today I'm going to do a different video, and I asked what people might want to see, and there weren't that many suggestions, but some of them were kind of fun. One thing that I got asked more than one time was to talk about the games that I play sometimes. I've shown the games on our shelf in here briefly when I did my office tour. I've also mentioned several times, like when talking about my hobbies, that I like to play games. All kinds of games. I think they're good for your creativity and relaxation and mental stimulation and being around other people and actually doing something. Sometimes they spark weird debates you never thought you would get into. And so since a couple people asked about that and it's sort of fun and lighthearted, I decided I'd go through that. I'm having a good day and I wanted to keep it light and fun and fast. So let's go through some of these and hopefully I won't just ramble on about them. So I wanted to start by saying I do have some classic games, like this poor old dented up Domino's tin that won't actually stay closed. This, which I can't remember the name of, I think it's called Mill. We actually got it for Christmas one year because we started playing it as a mini game in a video game and it was really addicting. Our chess and checkers board is in the other room and I'm not gonna go get it right now. We have Go, which I've never really gotten the hang of. I think the first time I saw it played was in the movie A Beautiful Mind, and I was like, what are they doing? So this is that game, which I don't, not good at, but I try. We have other sort of classic games like Scrabble. We have Clue, although this is the new Clue where they've made some changes to it. I like the original better. We have this old poker set that we haven't used in a long time, but sometimes if we have friends over or something, we might play. We also do like to play cards. We play gin rummy quite a bit. And we tend to play with these invisible cards that I've had since I was like in high school, I think. In forensics, we play rummy all the time. So I've had these for 12 or 13 years and somehow managed to keep the whole deck together. So that's pretty impressive on my part. We have Farkle, which some people also just call dice, and there's different rules, different house rules to the way you play it, but essentially it's a numbers game. This isn't a card game, but in addition to Farkle, we have story cubes. So the point is to roll these die that have different little symbols on each side. So there's a moon here, or a book, or an abacus apparently, and sort of interpret those in whatever way you would. So an abacus could be like that there's an actual abacus in the story, or it could deal with the sciences, or someone could be in like trying to do math in your story, and based on the die you roll, you try and tell a story. Another little card game we have is this little thing called Love Letters that I got for like $3 one time when a game store here in town was closing. This is called We Didn't Play Test This at All, which is kind of like Flux, but with a lot more of your own personality in it. If you've played Flux, essentially there's a certain set of rules to the game, and as you keep going, people can play other cards that change the rules of the game. So the rules of the game are constantly changing and you've got to keep up with them, and if you don't, that's when you get penalized. Sometimes the penalty can be changing the rules of the game again. There are certain packs that you don't open until a certain real life thing is met. As of trying to film this video today, I can open this one now, which is a do not open this pack until a cat has sat within, on, or touching the game box, because he's not leaving me alone today. So I could open this one next time. We also have this little card game called Gloom. If any of you watch Tabletop, you might have also seen Love Letters, but you might have seen this as well. Tabletop is a game. It's a show here on YouTube with Will Wheaton as the host, and they play tested this on there. With Gloom, I think we all know those people who try and somehow like one-up the bad things in your life. Like if you've had a bad day, their day was worse. If you stubbed your toe, they broke their foot. If your dog almost got hit by a car, theirs did. And so basically the point is in this game to be that person who is just constantly trying to one-up somebody else's bad things. You are trying to be the gloomiest person at the table. And so it's kind of twisted, but it's also pretty fun. Speaking of twisted card games, we also have Cards Against Humanity. We don't have any of the expansions right now. I do have a friend, though, who has every expansion. Sometimes the people you would never expect are the people who win at this game. If you've never heard of Cards Against Humanity, it is not for everybody, but the whole point is to be just shockingly awful. It's sort of a fill-in-the-blank game where the whole point is to make everybody do that sort of like shocked laugh because what you just said was bad. Like it's just a bad thing. I'm sorry if it keeps getting dark in here. The clouds keep going behind things and I don't want to mess with getting out my ring light, so it's just going to be dark. On a little bit lighter note, but still kind of silly, we have Chez Geek, which is sort of a different version of Munchkin. So in Munchkin, you basically play as like little explorers who are trying to level up, and you get little items like a singing sword or whatever, and it's pretty cutesy, but also sometimes there are those sort of adult jokes that sneak in there. Like if you've ever seen Shrek, where it's cutesy and it's kind of for kids, but there's a lot of things that only the adults are gonna get. There's a lot of that in here. Chez Geek is a little bit more to the point with some of it. Essentially, you play as roommates, you and the other people you're playing with, and you are trying to be the best slacker you can be. Like getting the most money so you can buy the most video games or Doritos or whatever while doing the least amount of work. Still on card games, we have Snake Oil, which is a more subjective game. So with Snake Oil, you draw cards of just weird inventions, and then there's one person at the table who is a customer, and then the other people have their own weird inventions and they're trying to sell it to the customer, like a snake oil salesman. So the person who's the customer draws their own card. So for example, they might be a senior citizen or a politician, or they might be something a little bit more silly like a vampire or something. And so your job is to take the cards you've been dealt. So you'll get a few cards to choose from, and for example, if you get map and underwear, you've got map underwear or an underwear map, and your job is to try and sell a sports mascot on why they would need map underwear. And the other person's job is to try and sell them something different. It's actually kind of fun if you want to work on your rhetorical skills or your debate skills. If you're a teacher, it's actually kind of fun. We also have another game that is a little bit more subjective, and it's called Once Upon a Time. I'm not going to go into it too long, but the point is both to win and to tell a story as a group. As a creative writer and as a reader, I like this. You have to play it with the right people. There's also a companion book that I might have somewhere that is like how to use this as a creative writing prompt. I would again recommend the tabletop video of this. So Tabletop with Will Wheaton. They played on this and they did a really good job. This one is a little bit less subjective. This is called Geek Out, and it's literally just trying to out-geek each other. So the point is, you roll a die, and based on that die, you get a category. Like tabletop games, sci-fi, comic books, fantasy. So let's say you got fantasy and you drew this card. Can you name 2 spells from the Harry Potter universe? And if the person who drew the card, like the person whose turn it is like, yeah, I can name 2, then everybody gets a chance to go around the table and essentially try and outdo them. Like, so the next person can be like, well, I can name 3. The next person will say, well, I can name 4. Someone else might pass. And it goes back around to the first person until eventually someone's like, I can name 32 Harry Potter spells. And someone goes, okay, prove it. And if they do, they win, they get the points in that card. If they don't, they lose points because they couldn't put their Potter where their mouth is. I'm fairly lucky that there's not a lot of games that we have that I don't really like, that were like a waste of money. But there's some that I just, I don't know if I just haven't played them with the right people, or if I haven't played them with enough people. So, for example, we have this Dungeons and Dragons game, and if you can see, it's a pretty big box. It weighs quite a bit too. We've got 3 of these games, and Josh really likes them, and some of the people he plays them with really like them. I don't. It's not that I don't like them. I think I haven't played them with the right people, or at the right time, or when I was in the right mood. I don't know. I would rather actually play Dungeons and Dragons. So this is sort of a procedurally generated game, which if you play video games, you probably know what I'm talking about. If not, what it means is the game is set up as you go along. It's going to be different every time, and the board's going to be different every time. Every time your character moves into an area, that's when you find out what is in that room, and it's because you draw a room tile, and that determines what happens in that room, whether there's an encounter, or whether there's a fight, or whether there's a treasure, or whatever the case might be. It's a fun in theory, and there are some games that do that I really like. This one, I feel like there was just so much involved. It just turned into a lot of counting and finding the right things, and it was fine. Since I'm on that, I will share that I also do play Dungeons and Dragons. This is the 5th edition of Dungeons and Dragons Player Handbook. This is a person fighting a giant, if you can't tell. We do have past editions as well, like 4th edition, which I didn't like, and then we have 3.5 and 3rd edition. And we also have some other tabletop RPGs. An RPG, if you're not familiar, is a role-playing game. If you're someone, especially who maybe was around in the 80s where there was sort of a big, weird scare about like Dungeons and Dragons, let me be one of the first people to tell you that it's not what a lot of people made it out to be back then. As a lot of you know, I like to read, so one of my favorite authors is Patrick Rothfuss, and he wrote the Kingkiller Chronicles, and like The Name of the Wind was the first of those books. Those are some of my favorite books. Anyway, he put it best, I think. He was talking to his agent about playing D&D or Dungeons and Dragons, and they were going to live stream it from Comic-Con, and there was going to be like an expected turnout of like 200,000 people watching this live stream, and thousands more at Comic-Con just watching them play. And she was just like flabbergasted by that. Like, why would anybody would have watched a bunch of dorks sit around and play D&D, because a lot of people don't really know what it is. So the way he put it was, it's a group of quick-witted, articulate, funny people engage in interactive, improvisational storytelling for a couple hours. And then you realize it's more like Whose Line Is It Anyway, but with a narrative story arc. So it really like tests the limits of your imagination, your rhetorical skills, plot devices, character arcs, narrative framework. If you like writing and if you like fantasy, then D&D is actually kind of a good tool. It gets a lot of your creative juices flowing. I can get off my high horse about D&D. That's weird. That was a weird tangent to go on. Back to the actual board games. Like I said, there are some games that are procedurally generated that I really, really enjoy versus this D&D game. And one of those is Betrayal at House on the Hill. This is probably one of my favorite games to play, especially with a big group of people, because you never know what's going to happen. While the rules are basically the same, the story of the game changes every time. As you go from room to room, you randomly draw a room, and that determines what happens in that room. Depending on a bunch of other factors, Quincy, please don't, not right now, okay? So depending on what room you're in, what's happened before that, who all is playing, which characters are playing, what you've discovered and what you haven't so far, the scenario will change each time, but each time you're going to hit a point in the game where one of you, surprise, has betrayed everybody else. For different reasons, with different motives, at different times, with different outcomes, and the way you beat that person depends on all of the things that have happened before that. So literally every time you play, even if you wind up with the same scenario, it could be a very different outcome and a very different game. And we liked it so much that we got an expansion for it, so the follow-up for it. And this is one of those games that has a really big following among people who like to play board games. And again, if you're interested in it, Tabletop with Will Wheaton has an episode where they play it, and he'll break down a lot of the rules and stuff. I've just got so many to go through, I don't think there's time for that. Since we are on procedurally generated games, Forbidden Island is another game that I like to play because you play it cooperatively, so everybody is working together as a team. And it's for 2 to 4 players, so Josh and I can play it just by ourselves, and it can be a fairly fast game or it can take a little bit of time, and you can change the difficulty level. So if you want to make it a little bit more challenging and a little bit more race against the clocky, you can set the difficulty level up higher, and if you want to make it a little bit easier and just more fun to learn the ropes, you can make it easier on yourself. The whole point is to get these relics from temples like Indiana Jones before an island sinks, and then get off of the island with those ancient relics. So it's pretty fun and pretty fast. There's several other versions of this, but this is the only one we have. On to different games. So Dixit's sort of a weird game, but if you like symbolism or storytelling or like thinking of the meaning behind things, making connections, then this would be the game for you. So there's a lot of really sort of strange but beautiful drawings. It's such a sort of abstract game that it would take longer than I want to spend to explain it right now. So if you're interested in it, then again, I think there's probably a video somewhere here on YouTube that explains how to play it. There might even be a tabletop. Nefarious is a cute game. It goes pretty fast and you can do it with 2 to 6 players. Essentially, you're a mad scientist, and the whole point is to get enough funding to do your research, to build your inventions before other people, and have more minions, essentially, than other people. The Red Dragon Inn is kind of a fun game. This is the 2nd edition. I think they've got 6 or 7 of them out now, and each one has different characters in it. So in this box, there's 4 different characters, so you pick who you want to play as, and then essentially you are a group of adventurers, like would be in a video game or Dungeons and Dragons or a fantasy book or whatever. So for example, in this one, I think there's a bard, an orc, a dwarf, and a sorceress, I think, in this one. And so the whole point is to essentially do a drinking game. You've come in from a big day of adventuring, you're at the tavern, and you're trying to drink each other under the table. So the whole point is to not pass out drunk and not to lose all your gold. This one is weird and funny. If you like things that are a little bit strange, kind of like Adventure Time, you'd probably like this game. Or if you've ever played like Borderlands, the video game, you'd probably like this game. This is Epic Spell Wars of the Battle Wizards Duel at Mount Skullsfire. It's just really weird. You're all these weird wizards having a big battle with weird spells. And one of the rules, for example, is that you have to pick a voice for your character, and you have to do the voice every time you cast a spell or it doesn't work. Again, I'm sure that there's a video out there that will teach you how to play that game if you want to. This next game is Pandemic, which I also like because it is, again, a cooperative game. So you're playing as a team to try and eradicate disease, which is a lot more fun in this game than I just made it sound. You're racing against the clock, you're trying to control outbreaks, you're trying to manage resources, you're trying to help get one person from the CDC in Atlanta to Russia somewhere so that they can control an outbreak or find a cure, etc. There's 4 different diseases that you've got to completely eradicate before you can say that you've beaten the game. And again, as with Forbidden Island, you can change the difficulty for yourself, so you can make it a little bit more easy to win and a little bit more easy to save the world, or a little bit more difficult and a little bit more against the clock. Cosmic Encounters has a lot going on in it, but also not very much going on in it. It's a game that we've only actually had for a little while, but Josh used to play it when he was young, so we found a copy and got it. Essentially, you draw an alien race, and that alien race has a specific ability that will be relevant to the game, and you're trying to take over the galaxy, basically. And depending on which of the 100+ races you draw, you will have one of 100+ different ways that you can go about winning or taking over. Similarly, this is Small World. This game takes a lot of setup, but once it's going, it's pretty fun. You draw a fantasy race, whether it's orcs or centaurs or fairies or whatever, and then you're trying to take over the map. Basically, you want the most money, the most land, you want control of the board. And again, based on the race you draw, that's going to change how you go about it. Also, in true geek fashion, we've got a whole container over there of magic cards. I'm not going to go through them, and magic's not really my thing, it's more of Josh's. But I do have a sliver deck that beats him almost every time. The last two actual board games I want to talk about are this, Last Night on Earth, which is essentially where you play as some survivors during a zombie outbreak, and you're trying to survive one of, I think there's 8 or 9 various scenarios. So based on the scenario you draw, that's going to change the board, that's going to change the game. So you might be trying to gather enough fuel so that you can start the broken down tractor in the middle of town and plow your way out through zombies, or you might just be trying to find enough food to hole up for the next couple weeks until the National Guard get there, etc. Whatever the scenario you draw, that's going to change how you play the game and how the board is set up. Overall, though, I'm going to be real honest, I don't like this game. And it might be that I'm a little bit competitive and Josh beats me at it every time. Doesn't matter if, oh, that's the other thing. One person plays the people and another person plays the zombies. And the more players you have, one person always plays the zombies. So the zombies aren't just like mindless things. There's someone controlling them. So you're playing against each other. And even if you're playing with other humans, you might be working against each other, like to be the last one standing. And it might be that I'm a little bit competitive and Josh beats me every time, no matter what he's playing or who he's playing. I just don't really like the game. On the other hand, this game, Dead of Winter, is what that game tried to be. This game is amazing. It has way more setup than the other one, so it's a little bit more involved, but it's way more fun. And I think it's that there's more story to this one, there's more people you can be, there's more scenarios that can happen, there is an opportunity for someone to like betray everybody and work against each other, but you don't start out working against each other. I think that might be one of my things. I like games where you cooperate, and now when you're playing this, someone might be trying to screw everybody else over and working against everyone, but overall you're trying to set up a colony to last the winter until someone can come rescue you in the zombie apocalypse. And that means that you and the people you're playing with are also responsible for, we'll say, non-combatants, like the children and the elderly that are at this stronghold that you've created. You've got to have enough food to feed not only yourselves, but the people who aren't actually playing the game, like the children that are there. And so you can sometimes choose to essentially sacrifice yourself, like go out and starve for a day or two so that the kids there can be fed, or you can choose to, be a jerk and make sure that the people who are protecting everyone get fed. But then if you do that, then the morale will get lower of the place, people might turn against you, and then you've got a whole new scenario on your hands. It is a very involved game, and I really like it. And I feel like Last Night on Earth was trying for this and failed, and then these people did it right. So that's my take on that. In addition to these board games and tabletop games, I do also do video games. I'm not going to go through all those. Don't have to worry. When it comes to video games, I tend to like big open world sandbox games, RPGs, that kind of thing. Fighting games are okay. I'm not that into them. I don't really like Call of Duty or things like that. I like things that tell a story. I like things that have a lot involved in them. I like things where you have to keep track of some stuff, where there's going to be some kind of character development, whether it's between the relationships you develop with other characters in the game, and that in turn changes how they treat you, or whether it's just your standard leveling up and so you can choose what you want to class into, etc. I do like some games that are more just shoot 'em ups, I guess you could say. Like, I really liked Metal Gear Solid 5, but generally I like things more like Breath of the Wild or Skyrim or Oblivion. A lot of Bethesda games I really like. I do also like games like Borderlands, the Dark Souls games. As frustrating as they are, I really like those. I feel like I've talked so long about games I'm starting to lose my voice. I think I might need to wind it down here. If you guys have any questions about any of the games, or if you would like to know more about some of them, for a few of them I will put the links to like the tabletop videos so you can actually learn how to play them if you want. I know this video is not going to be for everybody, and that's fine. That's fine. If this isn't what you want to see, feel free to click off. If you'd like to see more things like this, well, not like this exactly. I've done this. This is done. But more just stuff about my interests, or if you have questions about narrative framework and character arc, things like that, things that interest me in games, I'd be happy to talk about those. That's part of my job. This video is probably going to be pretty long, so thank you for hanging in there with me if you're still here. I hope wherever you guys are, you are safe and happy and healthy. Next week, I'm going to weigh in for better or worse, so subscribe if you want to see that. Anyway, alright, this is a great way to end the video. Bye.